Governing Board welcomes public comments at its meetings by providing 2 opportunities for the public to address the Board. If your topic of interest is not on the agenda, you may address the Board during the public comments time slot near the beginning of the meeting. If the topic is on the agenda, you may speak just prior to the discussion of that agenda topic. In the event there is a public hearing, the opportunity to speak will be reopened. Everyone wishing to make a public comment must submit the request to address the Governing Board form, which is required for the meeting minutes. If you are appearing remotely, that form is available below the YouTube link. Those attending in person, the purple form is at the back of the room. Speakers will be called on when it is your turn to address the Board. For those attending remotely, please remember to activate your camera and microphone prior to speaking. Each speaker has 3 minutes to address the Board. The sound of a buzzer indicates the end of your 3 minutes. In the event of a large number of speakers, the Board may need to limit that time so we can conduct the business on the agenda. By law, the Board cannot discuss, consider, or vote on topics that are not on the agenda. This assures the community that they are aware of the topics that will be discussed. If you wish to discuss a topic through written communication, Board members' contact information can be found on the district website. We appreciate the community's attendance and comments at this meeting. Thank you. Item 1.4 on our agenda tonight is Outstanding Achievements presented by Superintendent Denise Bartlett.
Thank you. One of the outstanding achievements that is not printed on our form is that I want to commend all of our staff and our students for an excellent start of their school year. They have braved the heat. It has been hot. When you see those little kids come in with their faces just beet red, you wonder why we start so early sometimes, but it has been a very smooth start to the school year, and again, our staff and students and families have been very active and supportive of the start of school. So that's our first outstanding achievement. Just the whole teaching staff and all of our staff and the work that they put in before the school year to make the start such a good start. But we do have some student and staff achievements that I want to talk about as well. So we have our Future Business Leaders of America. They went to the National Leadership Conference in June, June 27th through July 3rd. And of course, that organization aims to prepare students to become community-minded business leaders in today's global society. So we're promoting that business mind. It was a really fierce competition, and our graduate, a special congratulations goes to a graduate of the class of 2026, senior Luke Grace, who successfully advanced all the way to the national finals. So that was great. He didn't win, but that's okay. But while they were there, they were in San Antonio, so they took in some of the sites. They stayed at the historic Gunter Hotel in downtown San Antonio, and they went to Six Flags and the San Antonio Riverwalk, and so they took in some of the nice sights as long as they were there. But our photography teacher, Mark Cook, would like to thank all of you and our community for supporting that team. So it was a nice award for them. We have a teacher selected for the prestigious White House Institute. This is our second teacher. So this year, Cindy Gallego, who is a kindergarten and first grade teacher at Ventana Vista in the Spanish Immersion Program, she was selected to participate in the White House Historical Association's White House History Teacher Institute in Washington, D.C. She was immersed, during the Institute, she was immersed in American history through primary sources, tours of historic sites, and sessions led by historians and experts with a particular focus on adapting these resources to fit the student's grade level. So now she's going to be bringing that back to her kindergarten and first grade students. So she's going to bring them back with using primary sources, photograph stories, and interactive activities to make the history engaging for her students, and in Spanish. Nice. So, yes. We also had Renee Shane Boyd, who was our band director. She represented CFSD in Washington, D.C. as part of a summer advocacy initiative with the National Association for Music Education and the American Music Educators Association. And they were there to, it was an invitation-only event to support music education programs and students and educators. So she met with key legislators and key staffers from 10 of the 11 Arizona's congressional offices, urging support for federal legislation and funding that benefits music and arts education. So she's been a very big promoter of music education. So she also connected with Mark Kelly, recalling the Falcons Band 2023 Rose Parade appearance behind the Grand Marshal, his wife Gabby Giffords. So it was a pleasure meeting. Then they also met two staffers who graduated from Foothills who are now working in Washington. So that's always a nice connection too. And finally, we just got this a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I guess. Julie Rombach, who is an 8th grade teacher, social studies teacher at Esperero, was named the Arizona Middle Grades Teacher of the Year by the Arizona Association for Middle Level Education. When she got this award, she said, I didn't even know this organization existed. And she's been a middle school teacher her whole life. So it recognizes her ability to pair rigorous student-centered instruction with the kind of genuine relationships that helps young adolescents thrive. Principal Gist talked about her, and she said that she empowers kids who will make history rather than simply teaching about it. Her collaborative spirit extends across the school community, working alongside fellow staff and families to keep expectations high while ensuring every learner has genuine access to rigorous instruction. So we're very proud of Ms. Rombach. She will be recognized at the Arizona Middle Grade Summit at Arizona State University on September 19th, and her husband and son get to attend that with her. So.
Nice.
Yes.
You know, I'm just curious, if she didn't know this organization existed, but they obviously knew she existed, so
Her,
was she nominated?
yeah, her principal,
Oh, she
Ms.
did.
Gist, nominated her. Yeah, and what's nice is this is the first year both of our middle school principals and assistant principals are attending that conference.
Great.
So they are also attending the Arizona Middle Levels Conference in September.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, moving to the next item on our agenda, public comments. I do not have any in-person purple forms. And it looks like we do not have anyone online requesting to speak. Please? You. Okay. All right, we don't. When she checks it, her name pops up. I thought I saw it. Keep me on my toes.
I thought you were looking at me. I didn't know you were
Different Amy.
ask me.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so no public comments tonight. We will move on then to our consent agenda. Does anyone have any items they would like to pull from our consent agenda tonight?
I'd like to pull 3.6, approval of personnel memorandum.
Anyone else? All right, I will pull 311 and 312. So, with the exception of those three items, I will entertain a motion for the remainder of the consent agenda.
Okay. I move that the governing board approve consent agenda items 3.1, the governing board June 23rd, 2026 regular meeting minutes as presented. 3.2, the governing board July 20, 2026 special meeting minutes as presented. 3.3, the expense voucher memorandum as presented. 3.4, the field trip request memorandum as presented. 3.5, the fundraising request memorandum as presented. 3.7, the acceptance with gratitude of the gifts and donations memorandum as presented. 3.8, the district evaluators as presented. 3.9, the additional compensation rates as presented. Let me make sure I don't get too ahead of myself. Okay, 3.10, the addition of Education Associates, Inc. to the sole source vendor list for fiscal year 2026-2027 as presented. And 3.13, the award to Kittle Design and Construction for the new Ramada and ADA compliant sidewalk project at Esperero Canyon Middle School in the estimated amount of $380,421 as presented.
Well done. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Do we call that passed?
I'm sorry?
Do we call that passed, or do we wait until we do the rest of the?
No, do those.
Do those three first. Okay. All right. So Gina, you had wanted to pull 3.6.
You have to do the past on them.
We do have to do the pass.
Yeah. Motion
Yes,
carries.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
yes, I'm sorry.
All right, no, my apologies. So, 5 in favor, none opposed, motion passes. And now for the remainder of the consent agenda, item 3.6.
Perfect.
All right.
Sorry.
No.
Well, I'm sorry, I can-
Burden is, I'm sorry.
Okay, 3.6, which is the approval of the personnel memorandum. We've just started the school year, and it's off to a great start. Thank you for your opening comments there. I think this is a really good opportunity to hear how we are from a staffing perspective, what we're going, how we're starting the year in terms of percentage of roles filled, any gaps, et cetera, how you're feeling basically about staffing. So, Ms. Westover, I would turn it over to you probably.
Yes, we actually had a great hiring season. We were able to fill the majority of our positions early. We did have a few movements towards the end that we were filling, but at this point, all we have really left right now that we're still trying to fill, we have a 1.0 RN coordinator for the district, so our nursing position that we're trying to fill. We have looked for temporary subs for that position, and we're trying to do some contracted work, but hiring nurses for schools is very difficult, as you can imagine. So we are actively seeking that position still. We have a half-time SLP, so a speech language pathologist, that we are working to fill, and we're trying some of the similar outlets that we're looking for our registered nurse as well. And then we had a couple of positions that we did not fill. One was a science position at the middle school, but it was split between both schools. With enrollment kind of slowing down a little bit, they were able to absorb that position, so we were okay. And they made that decision. They really wanted to make sure that the teacher they hired was of the caliber they were looking for, and they weren't finding that, so they felt like they would be better off to serve the kids with the teachers that we had. And then we had a half-time computer programming CTE position that we were unable to fill. And so that position, we had to dissolve those into different CTE classrooms. We do have one outstanding, it was a film and TV, but it's going to be a graphic design film and TV position that we were able to find, but we were waiting on that individual's certification to come through the Department of Ed. So they hopefully will be on the next board agenda. So that would mean all of our positions at the high school would be filled once we get that position in. So really, in pretty good shape. The majority, our classrooms were full when we started. It was just we had one long-term sub in that film classroom that will get a teacher in the next week or so.
It's great to hear. So on film and TV, is there only one class of film and TV, or are there two? Or,
It's a full teaching schedule, so there's 6 classes of film and TV, different varying
but one
levels.
teacher? Okay, so the curriculum will change a little bit, so it can be film and TV and graphic design together, is that what I'm hearing?
The teacher that we've been able to secure has more of a graphic design background, so I assume, and we're actually they're looking at potentially changing that track a little bit. And graphic design is something we already have approved. So anyone who's new to the program in the first year, we would be able to offer them graphic design, and then we'd probably still attempt to run those second and third year programs for the kids who've already been in the program.
Okay. And then with regards to the science absorption at the middle school, you said that the administration felt fine about that. What does that do to class sizes for those classes?
It does up class sizes. We were sitting low 20s, and we are sitting on average anywhere between 25 and 30, depending on the course. We have a couple of sections that bump over that just due to the way the averages work out in class schedules. But the 30 it's a large class size, but it's not completely unmanageable versus trying to have a sub and plan for that. Teachers felt like it was better to take those extra bodies.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll continue.
30 is our expected class divisor for 6 through 12. So.
Which I think is an important thing
Yes.
to remember, because we're all sort of used to talking about class sizes in the mid-20s, but you're saying 30 is kind of our goal, is that?
Yeah, that's the fiscally, that then your classrooms are full.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments on 3.6? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move that the governing board approve the personnel memorandum as presented. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye?
Yes.
Yes. All right, any opposed? All right, motion passes. I'm pulling 311 and 312, which are the approval of the terms and conditions for acceptance of monies, basically BRGs for air conditioning systems at Canyon View and air handler control systems at Catalina Foothills High School. And I'm kind of channeling Eileen a little bit here because this is normally her role to just step back and go, that's $1 million combined that we're not, like that's $1 million more money that we can put toward other things. That's amazing.
Is amazing.
Yes.
And I assume
Because
that's
it's a grant.
because it's a grant, and I assume that is Brian McNitt and team
It is?
working on finding every grant opportunity they can.
Yes.
Just absolutely fantastic and always worthy of a call out when their efforts result in something this amazing. So those were my comments. That I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the governing board approve the terms and conditions for the acceptance of monies from the School Facilities Division BRG Fund for BRG project number PA-010832 for the design and replacement of 4 air conditioning systems at Canyon View Elementary School in the estimated amount of $250,650 as presented. Do we do them separately or? Okay.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
I move that the governing board approve the terms and conditions for the acceptance of monies from the School Facilities Division BRG Fund for BRG project number PA-010867 for the replacement of 9 air handler control systems at Catalina Foothills High School in the estimated amount of $750,000 as presented.
A motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. That concludes our consent agenda and brings us to new business, starting with 4.1, considerations of revision to policy and regulation DJE and DJE-R bidding and purchasing procedures. This is a first reading. Superintendent Bartlett.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to bring this policy, actually, because the main change in this policy is changing the threshold for when you need to obtain bids, and it's going from a threshold of 10,000 to a threshold of 15. It probably could have gone higher, but
Yeah.
the USFR did not update it that far. But that's the main change, and that is going to alleviate some of the burden on our administrative staff in collecting those quotes. And with inflation the way it is, it's very easy to hit $10,000. So that is the main change that we're doing, and it's really because of the updated USFR system, and that they're approving this. And we cannot start using these thresholds, though, until the governing board approves them. So we wanted to bring these forward immediately so that we could get these thresholds to our staff as well. But some other minor changes, so you can see on page 72, the changes to the $15,000 instead of the $10,000. There's some basic wording changes there as well. On page 73, we added some language that says for all cooperative purchasing agreements, the district must verify and document in the procurement file that the originating entity awarded the underlying contract in compliance with school district procurement rules. So we have to check when we go to the cooperative purchasing that they have been awarded that sufficiently. And then on page 75 of the policy, you can see some updated rules R7-2 1023 and Rural 7-2 1029 have been added to the end of that policy as well. And then in the regulation, the changes on page 84 of that is really about the emergency procurement. So it does allow, when there's an emergency, procedures are necessary to prevent immediate threats to the district's assets or essential operations, that in writing by myself, we can pass that without doing the three checks. So we don't have to, you can do it on an emergency. So I would assume that means like a cyber attack. If we have a cyber attack and we need to get something in place very quickly, then we don't have to, in writing, I can just I can go beyond the thresholds or the procurement regulations. So, and then, on page 85 of the policy, again, we added the district must maintain documentation demonstrating that the underlying cooperative agreement contract was competitively solicited in a manner consistent with Arizona Procurement Code regulations. But this is a lot, there's little changes, but the major change is just that threshold from 10 to 15,000.
So we had something happen that makes life easier for a change.
Yes, yes, it does.
I feel like it could be more.
Yes.
That doesn't happen often.
No,
So
appreciate it.
we're taking it as a win. But this will come back on the 25th, and then on the 26th, we will start using that new threshold.
Fantastic.
Question. In some places in this policy, it says at the direction of the superintendent or a person designated by the superintendent. So when it comes to these kinds of bidding and purchasing procedures, are you the person who typically does this?
No.
Or there's somebody else?
Lisa Tatel does, yes. Well, we also have a procurement specialist.
Right.
We have Carolyn Sievert, who does that too, but Lisa Tatel does most of the oversight of the bidding process, the purchasing.
Is that something that for some reason, I feel like that's something we look at and approve every year, a certain set of designees that handle certain actions at the district level? Is that one of those, or is that just part of her job description?
That's just part of her job description. But they work in conjunction.
All right, any other questions, comments on item 4.1? All right, we'll see you again in 2 weeks then.
Okay.
Item 4.2 is consideration of revisions to policy JJE, student fundraising activities. This is also a first reading by Superintendent Bartlett.
Yes, so we're bringing the student fundraising policy to you because of some inconsistent application of the policy across our schools. Specifically when it comes to some of the FFOs and the fundraising that they're doing. Some FFOs are getting every policy, every fundraising activity approved, regardless of the dollar threshold that's stated in the policy, and some are getting none. So we felt that it was pretty important that as a board and as a district, we understand the level of fundraising that is going on. So we wanted to add a statement to our policy that all fundraising activities conducted by recognized student groups must receive prior approval from the governing. So we want, that says student groups. We're going to change that to just groups, recognized district groups, meaning FFOs and student groups as well. We just felt like we were not having a handle on how much fundraising was actually going on, and we wanted to bring that back into.
And this kind of is related to the monthly fundraising reports that we get from you?
Yes.
Okay.
You mean the student activities
Yes, the
report?
student activity.
Can you clarify, please, what constitutes student fundraising activities?
Well,
Is it
That's
fundraising by
nothing
students
anymore.
or for students?
that's the misconception, right? So so some FFOs or groups said, well, our students aren't really doing the selling. We're doing a thon or whatever, and we're just getting, we're doing a dine out. So we're not gonna get that approved. But we're trying to say that if our students are, benefiting and you're doing it for the benefit of the students, so that's a student fundraising activity. So we're trying to make it so that all of our fundraising activities are benefiting our students in some way. So we want them to meet these thresholds and be under the umbrella of getting it approved.
May I suggest that relook at the wording then? Because I still feel I understand the intent now, I think, and I agree with that, but I feel that the wording still isn't clear because if I'm looking at the right document, it says, all fundraising activities conducted by recognized student groups must receive prior approval, which could be construed as, a club, for example, a student-run
Right.
club. And I think what we're talking about here are FFOs and
Yeah,
boosters,
I think it's just all fundraising activities
Student clubs included,
must be,
but not limited to.
not limited
Right.
to, right.
And right now it implies, I think one reading of it is
Yeah.
that it's limited to
we
No,
will
I
work on the
agree.
wording.
those clubs.
And the idea, as I'm understanding, is that we want to know if we're soliciting
Correct.
funds from our families that are going in some manner, shape, or form to our schools,
Correct.
we want to know what
Yeah,
they're
Correct.
raising.
yes.
Yes, so we want it to be very inclusive.
Very
Correct.
inclusive and uber clear.
Yep.
No wriggle room on this, I think.
And by the way, fundraising does not have a dash.
Where does
You
it?
didn't write it, you wrote it correctly, but
Well,
the policy people.
Oh, yeah,
wrote
the
it.
policy before was incorrect, wasn't it? It's been
Well, in
highlighted.
the title, it says fund dash
Yeah.
raising, which I know you can't change the title.
we can't.
You can't.
We'll change, we'll
But
take
in
out the
other
ones.
places in the policy, when you added it, it's one word, but.
Yes.
And then will this be part of the
Yes, the training.
trainings?
Correct.
Can you speak to that for a moment?
Yes, so we will be having our financial, our FFO and Booster Club trainings on the 25th and 26th of August. We're going to have 3 sessions this year instead of 2. One will be FFO focused, one will be booster focused, and then the evening session will be a combination. So,
If you couldn't make the other session, you come to that
Correct,
one?
correct.
So you go to one of the 3?
yes, you go to one of the 3. And this new threshold will be involved in that, as well as our new food policies that are underway, as well as this fundraising. We'll have a discussion about the fundraising and make sure that everybody is aware that all of their fundraising must go get governing board approved, and that it takes 2 meetings for approval. usually.
Yeah.
So we've been having some issues with that, with some of the approvals from our boosters that didn't realize. When you turn over your booster clubs pretty frequently,
Yeah.
they don't understand that it does take 2 meetings, and it doesn't mean that you can get the materials to us at the district office on the Monday before the meeting. It means
Right.
get it. So we're working through some of those wrinkles, but it will be part of the training and all of those dates as well.
Great.
Yes. Yes. No, they have to go through their principal, their site principal, and they have to approve it first. And then we review it at the district level as well. And then it gets put on. Yes.
And just to follow up on that, so we would be correct to assume that if it's on our board member memo, the principal has approved and somebody at the district office has approved.
Correct.
And to put a finer point on that, it didn't get to us from a booster or FFO,
No.
it got to us from a principal, so there's no way around that.
No.
I would echo Gina's comment earlier, because as I looked at the first 4 words of the policy itself, fundraising activities by students, seems to not at all incorporate any other activities, so, yeah.
Great. I really like where you're going with this, with the rework here, but I think the policy as written needs a lot of work.
And then, just from a clerical point of view, when this is presented to the FFOs and boosters, it is as a preliminary policy on the 25th, like the training on the 25th, this will
Yes.
not be passed yet,
Correct. It'll
Okay.
say pending board approval.
but, but please start doing this anyway. Okay.
Yes.
All right, any other comments, questions on item 4.2, policy JJE? All right, this will come back to us again in 2 weeks. We move now to item 4.3, consideration of superintendent's proposed performance goals for 2026-2027. Also a first reading, Dr. Bartlett.
Thank you. So you have received a copy of the goals that we are proposing as a team. Of course, it says the superintendent's goals, but these are goals that are not solely, done by me. It takes a team effort, and a collaborative effort with all of our administrators. So what I'm going to present tonight are the preliminary goals that we would like to work on as part of this is a small part of our work, of course. There's lots of other job descriptions that I have. But of course, school improvement and leadership towards improvement goals are a major component of that job description. So we will start with some of the preliminary information that we wanted to share with you. And as you said, it's a first reading. So of course, the purpose of the goals are to align with our district strategic plan and our priorities and our deep learning. And it's our shared commitment to student success, increasing student achievement, and cultivating a thriving school community. So that's kind of the premise and the purpose behind these goals. Of course, this is the goals from our current strategic plan. You know that we do have a study session coming up on our strategic plan that we will be looking at these deep learning goals, and we will be then undergoing some work on revising some of it. So we've already begun thinking about how we're going to revise these. But our deep learning goals as they currently stand is one, reduce the gap between current and desired student achievement. So that's our student achievement outcome. We want to raise the engagement of students so that they're highly motivated to set and achieve increasingly challenging goals. And then we want to partner with families and community to achieve our strategic priorities. And of course, we all have our shared, we know our shared core values. We have those listed in our strategic plan as well. But our outcomes, so from our strategic plan, we determined what outcomes we wanted to achieve with these goals. And one, of course, the most important is always increased student achievement for all students. That's always going to be the basis for the work that we do in schools. But together with that, retaining high-quality teachers leads to increased achievement as well. So, maintaining their high-quality teaching staff is very important. So that is an outcome that we have. Of course, the school climate and culture also plays into the increased student achievement for all students. So we want to continually improve our climate and culture at our schools. And then, of course, the last piece is that community outreach and awareness to foster strong relationships with our community, because we know our community is the support system. It's not just our families, but it's the general community who pass our bonds and support our schools financially through the passage of those bonds. So we want to make sure that we are keeping them informed and engaged in our community as well. So these are the 4 outcomes that are the basis for the goals. So we have our increasing student achievement outcomes. So our goals, we have the same goals that we had in last year that we were proposing, because we set these as aspirational goals that by 2030 we wanted to increase the percentage of students who are proficient or higher in both reading, or ELA, math, and science. So those goals have not changed, but I do have an update on some of the progress that we made last year. So last year, it's really hard to see that, isn't it?
That's small.
Sorry. I have the results back here. So increased our proficient rate to 59.9%. It's an increase of 2.4% over the last year, the
4% or percentage points?
percentage points. We're still 20 points away from our goal, 20.1 percentage points away from our goal. So each year, we need to increase 5%. So based on this 2.4%, we need to double that next year to get a little bit closer to our goal of 80%.
For math.
This is for math.
Just math.
This is math.
This is just for math. Okay?
And when we say by 2030, are we talking about this beginning of the 2030, 2031 school year? Is that?
By 2030, yeah, the 2030, 2031 school
School
year.
year, okay.
And as I was sitting in the freshman orientation this summer, and they said, "You are the class of 2030."
Wow.
Okay, here we go. I'm
Here
looking
we go.
I'm looking at the kids who we are really looking. I mean, at. Yeah, it was really kind of a neat thought when I had it. I thought, oh, 2030.
And it makes it seem not really that far
It,
away.
it does not. I'm looking at 4 years. So, but it was a neat thing to look at and go, okay, here we go. Now I put a face to those goals, right? We put faces to the numbers that we're trying to achieve. So it's nice. So this is math. So some of our math strategies that we're going to implement standards aligned tier 1 instruction and targeted interventions. We're going to align our math curriculum. We're optimizing our staffing. We're also providing, one of our strategies is that we are using, if you remember, we have building thinking classrooms implemented at the high school, and it's in its 3rd year. We've now brought on our middle schools. So our middle schools are going to start year 1 implementation of building thinking classrooms. Now the high school, I'll show you in a minute, they did have some nice growth in their math. And so we're really thinking building thinking classrooms if we get it started in the middle schools now, and it'll be a much easier transition when they get into the high school too.
Starting in 6th grade? You mean for all
6th
grades?
grade,
Okay,
6th, 7th,
good.
and 8th grade, yes.
Can you go back to did you have the school split on the previous slide?
No, it was just the
It's by
district.
grade.
It was the district. But these are some of the strategies that we would, we're gonna review and align. We're gonna optimize our scheduling, staffing. Remember, we asked for smaller class sizes in math at our middle school and high school in our standard math classes, and we are seeing that. We've also got some intervention going on at our high school with students who have a study hall but are minimally proficient on the math. We're pulling them into an intervention instead of doing study hall with them.
That's
So
like an assigned class, right?
it is an assigned class, yeah. So we've got some really good strategies that we're working on that we are just building on as we're going. But these are some possible other strategies. Here is our ELA proficiency. Now you can see our ELA proficiency is a little bit higher than our math. We're in the 70s here. So our all district percent proficient is 70.3. It was a decrease actually of 5 percentage points.
0.5?
Well, I'm sorry, yes, 5.5%. Yes, I'm sorry. But we're only 9.7% from our district goal. So we need to get 2.4% increase each year until 2030 to reach that 80% goal. Now, as you get up to the 70s and above, it's going to be a little bit harder to get. So 2.4 is probably going to be a reasonable increment that we could achieve.
Thoughts on why the decrease?
Um,
I mean, that's within the boundaries of.
Yeah,
not
it's
statistically
within the,
significant,
it's
but at the
very
same time-
minimal. We did have a decrease, and I'll show you some of our cohort data. We had a decrease in our cohort going from 4th to 5th grade in 3 of our 4 schools for ELA. And then at the high school, there was a little bit of a decrease. So we're going to be looking at that through our collaborative inquiry teams. So here's some, again, ELA strategies, implementing ELA interventions, targeted support, strengthening our Tier 1 ELA instructional practices through consistent implementation of strategies, and then building the capacity in our teachers for effective instruction. You know, as a reading specialist myself, I've always said, teaching reading is rocket science. It is. It's very difficult. So, you know, getting our students to be efficient and effective readers is really important. So we've got a lot of our Tier 1 and Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports because of that. And our Read Strong program is an example of one of our strategies that we use in K3 to provide that targeted support. We're going to expand that into our upper grades and then our middle grades as well. Here's our science. Our science, we are at 60.5%. We will increase 3.4%. The high school had the highest increase, which was really nice to see. We're still 19.5 percentage points away from our goal, so we need to increase by 4.9 percentage points each year until we get to 2030. So, but we were very, very pleased with our science scores. We did do some we did some collaborative walkthroughs across campuses. So high school teams went down to the middle schools came up to the high school, the elementaries shared, and they went into each other's classrooms and looked at classroom and provided feedback, and so that was really an effective strategy as well. But we still need to strengthen our instructional practices in 3D science. That's really the key, is the 3D science. And there is a disconnect between the teaching of science in our classrooms and the assessment of science. So we're trying to, you know, become better informed about our teaching practices and what's actually being assessed as well. So we're going to enhance the use of assessment and data by developing staff capacity to analyze the results, and then they apply the findings. So what does it really mean? What is the test really asking them to do, and how does that manifest itself in the classroom?
It's kind of difficult, isn't it? Because we don't want to end up where we're teaching the test.
Correct. No.
So can you speak to that?
Well, as I think I've said before, the tests that we give test the state standards, right? We teach the state standards. So there is a connection between teaching the standards and what's tested. And we need to know which standards are the priority standards versus just nice to know, right? There's a lot of standards. Some of them are really essential and some of them are nice to know. So no, we don't want to be teaching to the test. So there is a balance of implementing 3D science, but what are the results of our teaching? So we're still measuring results, and that is how we measure. And we also measure with grades. We measure with, you know, student ongoing assessment in the classroom as well. But, you know, our external assessment is that AASA. So
is there a big difference between the results on our internal testing versus the standardized testing?
yes, I don't know if there's big differences.
There are differences.
There are differences.
Our students perform better. So they're learning the content that we're teaching. They're just not necessarily translating to the state assessment.
And the way we're assessing it, yes, because we're assessing it aligned to
Right.
the teaching. So we're trying to find a middle ground of, you know, how are we teaching and how is it assessing? And we don't want to move too far just to the assessment, but we need to get we need to come in the middle. And 3D science is where we're going to do that.
What is 3D?
Three-dimensional science.
Yes.
So it is
Scientific processes, like cause and effect or proportion and ratio. It's a group-
cross-cutting concepts.
Yes,
Cheryl.
cross-cutting concepts. Like.
Very simply, it's looking at the way we used to teach science,
Mhm.
which was about memorizing facts and figures, and it's engaging inquiry cycles about science.
So like they may present like a natural phenomena and say, we're gonna study why this is happening, and they're encouraging students to explore, read, a lot more reading in the science classroom than maybe we were traditionally exposed to. So it's more about scientific process which is great, which is where it should be.
Yeah, instead of the content of science, you know?
Yes.
Which is, our science classes are content heavy right now. So we are making changes about the content into some of the processes, so.
I follow up on Amy's question, just to better understand the potential disconnect between standardized test results and how we're testing with just our tests in the classroom. Are we looking at that on a student-by-student basis? Are we looking at that as like a class-by-class or school-by-school or just grade-by-grade?
All of those.
Okay, so we're sitting down and saying, here's where there are gaps and where there are not, even down to student-level performance.
The issue with science is it's only tested in 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade. So, especially at the middle school, and that's really where we have kind of the biggest discrepancy, especially at the middle school, it's supposed to build on the 6th grade knowledge, 7th grade knowledge, and test it in 8th grade. There's not a lot of cyclical concepts. There's not a lot of concepts that come up. It's just kind of disparate. And so we're looking at that. The middle schools are really delving into that science content and how can we make it more cyclical for kids so that it's not just you got this in 6th grade, this in 7th grade, and now you're going to be tested on all of it in 8th grade. And there's just memory forgetting. Of course. There's just forgetting that happens. 5th grade is a little bit different, even though, yes, it is testing 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. There's a lot more cycles of you know, going through and recurring concepts that come through for 3rd through 5th grade. So it's the middle school science is where we know we need to do some real delving into. And I'll show you that here because we have got some, this is a really bright spot that I wanted to share with you, our cohort growth. So cohort means, so this 4th grade ELA, they were 3rd graders last year, and as 4th graders, they grew in ELA 10.9 percentage points.
Is that across all the schools then?
This is, all together. And our 3rd to 4th grade math went up 8.1 percentage points. Our 8th grade math went up 10.4 percentage points. Our 11th grade math went up 7.3. Our 11th grade science, you can see, 6.4. That's from 8th to 11th, right? So, and then our grade 11 ELA went up 5 percentage points. So that's cohort. And that's really important. The cohort growth is really what we want to see because that means kids are going from year to year to year increasing. It's not just going, well, 3rd graders this year did this and 3rd graders next year. The following year did this. It's not following straight across by grade level, it's following the kids. And that's what this is showing. Now we also have some cohorts that we need to do some work with. So our 8th grade science, they went down, and like I said, that science cohort or that science 8th grade test is where we know, because it's built on 6th, 7th, and 8th grade knowledge. Our 6th grade math, we know that when kids change schools, there usually is a dip, but we need to figure out from our 5th to 6th grade math and what is it that we're expecting or supporting in 5th grade that's not happening in 6th grade. And we think the BTC, the Building Thinking Classrooms, is going to be a nice bridge because it's going to be more aligned to how students are taught in K-5 with our current curriculum, which is investigations.
I have a question about that, actually. So, yes, it's a new school for 6th graders, also for district residents, but also do we not get a larger number of open enrollment students at like the 6th and the 9th grade
We
levels
do.
too?
We do.
Yes,
district
yeah,
students,
moving
we
into
do.
districts. So how are we accounting?
That's the data that we're
That too.
looking at,
Okay.
and what interventions do we put in for those students who are new to our district so that we're supporting them to get to where we need them to be. So that's exactly what we're looking at. But there's that 5th grade ELA, that's that 4th grade to 5th grade, and like I said, there was 3 out of the 4 elementary schools that saw a decrease in their 4th to 5th grade. So we need to look at that. Our 8th grade ELA, that's from 7th to 8th grade. Again, I think it's some of the instructional strategies that we're using, more novels, less, so things like that. Our 7th grade math, and then our 9th grade math. So we have, you know, plans in place to address these issues. So we're constantly looking at our data and, you know, deciding what new thing do we need to implement so that we can, you know, meet the needs of these students. So these are some of the needs that we have.
Our two middle schools are over-indexing here. So how are those two administrators feeling about the challenge in front of them?
Well, no one loves the challenge, but they're up for the challenge. They have, you know, one has a new principal, and one has a longtime principal, but they are really working together, and that's really what's been wonderful, is that they are now going to do their collaborative inquiry teams. They're bringing their teams together, so we're going to have some real, you know, across district collaboration rather than just what you have at your own school.
That's
So
solid.
new ideas and new strategies are going to be implemented. So they're really working together on these areas. One of the main areas that they are working on is really the engagement, which we're going to get to. So through the engagement, you know, because middle schoolers can be quirky. And so if, you know, the engagement piece is really important to keep them motivated and going with some of this work that they don't find that motivating. So, but they are working together, the two principals, which is really a positive step. Likewise, at our elementary school, if you remember, that we combined the early dismissal days, so they're trying to find ways that they can collaborate as well and do some cross school collaboration. So, yeah.
And do the middle schools have the same late start time?
Yeah, and so some of them will, so they're gonna divvy up their teams, and some will go to Esperanza and some will go to Orange Grove, but it will be mixed. So,
And also maybe a nice collateral effect of that as well is, if I remember correctly, from, you know, the number of times we did, you know, staff satisfaction surveys, and we looked at staff prioritizing, you know, what they find most rewarding about working, is there was always an emphasis on being able to work with colleagues.
Yeah.
And to collaborate with colleagues. So I think being able to do that across the district, just kind of fosters that kind of work.
Yes.
So maybe that'll help energize, you know, and I mean, not just energize, but also substantively also improve the work.
well, and especially when you're looking at our middle schools, in a content area, there's 3 or 4 teachers. So you have a very small pool of
Doubling, basically.
Yeah, so you're doubling that pool of knowledge,
Right.
and so we're excited about that. So those are some of our areas of need. So that's kind of our achievement. Again, those goals really haven't changed, but I wanted to provide you with some update on some of the work that we have done in analyzing our data and knowing where we need to really focus in, and really getting it down to how much do we need to continually improve by year to get to that 80%. So our next proposed goal is that retain high-quality teachers, our outcome. We want to maintain that. We're going to keep that goal, even though this year we had a very high retention rate. We had 88.56. So we would love to keep that every year. Oh, it says 87, doesn't it? On the bar.
On the bar, yeah.
Oh,
I think it's 87 then. So we're about 1.5% percentage points above. And so, of course, we want to maintain that. And so we're going to keep this goal as a focus, retaining our teachers. And some of the retention strategies that we have been using have been very effective. Really is voice, the use of voice in what they're studying or what they're working on in their CITs. Of course, it's, has to be aligned to their school improvement plan, but it is, they have a voice in what they're going to. They're looking at what their students need and then deciding what they want to work. It's not the principal saying, you will work on this and you will work on that. It's the team deciding, our kids need this, let's work on this and get better at this. But that shared decision-making, strengthening our instructional leadership through support. One of the things we have done is we've put our learning support specialists at the sites. They're not district level, so they're on the sites, and they are in classrooms. The first week of school, we really wanted them to be in every classroom, so we're trying to set the culture that everybody gets support, not just our new teachers. Everybody gets support. We're all learning to get better. So that's a really important retention. When you know you have somebody that you can go and collaborate with or ask for assistance, that's a really important piece of retention.
Remind us of the staffing of the support specialists.
We have 4 learning support specialists. So we had 3, and we moved our RTI coordinator into a learning support specialist position. So now we have 4. So we have 1 full-time at the high school, and then the other schools have a half-time. So the middle schools each have 3 days a week, and then the elementaries have 2 days a week of the learning support specialists on their campus. So, and they're always there for either their early dismissal or their late start, so for professional learning and their CIT.
Okay.
So they're always on those days.
That's
they're
great.
always at that site.
That's great.
So they're integrated into the professional learning of the campus. So it's I'm excited about the results that we can gain from that. So I've been excited about that. So here's where some of the goals that we want to change. If you remember last year, our goal was to reduce the number of off-campus suspensions by 10%. In conversation, we met the goal. We reduced it by 16% actually. But we felt that it really didn't get at the behavior underlying the suspension. Really, thinking about suspensions, you can just reduce the number of days, but the behavior continues. We really want to get at the behavior. So we really want to focus on the major disciplinary incidents. And here's what we mean. So here's the incidents that we had in 2024 to 2025. You can see some increased, some decreased. That's just the number of incidences. Our next one, and I will say, some of the increases was due to a continual monitoring of entering it into our system. Again, we're still getting it, we're still, getting them into our system, and Mindy has done a really nice job of really working with the schools to make sure that we're really putting all the incidences into the system. So some of this increase is due to that, but some of them is just increase in the incident itself. So then, here are our major categories. So these are kind of the violations that we're trying to get at. Now each school will have to look at which violations or which categories that they have the most in. Now we will say the technology, that does not include cell phones. We took out all of the cell phone, and we took out, for attendance policy violation, we took out tardies.
What did you say?
Tardies.
Oh, I thought you said parties. I was like,
Tardies. No. Because it just inflated the numbers, and that's really not what we're going for.
Not a major incident, is
You're
it?
talking about truancy. That
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We're really going for, is there aggression, or is there, disrespect and defiance? And what is the underlying cause of that? We don't, cell phones, we have our cell phone policy, and the high school is taking those, and there are disciplinary consequences for that, but that's not what we're really talking about when we're trying to reduce the major infractions.
So are these actually number of individual incidents, or could an act of aggression, get a you know, be in that column, and then also defiance and disrespect toward authority is another one. So in other words, one incident gets to two categories,
No, there's only one incident and
per
it's
category.
categorized by those majors.
Okay.
Now, you're right, there might be a alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs that also is an aggression, or that also
Right.
is but it's the first, they're supposed to be tagging the most predominant
Okay.
of the issues
Okay.
first. And so then that's how we're kind of classifying them. Obviously, when you're dealing with student incidents, they're very fluid,
Yeah.
and they're not one is ever really alike. And also, we felt like with the cell phones and the tardies, that we were really wanting to continue targeting out-of-school suspensions, because obviously students who aren't in school, we can't move towards those academic goals, right? So
Right.
the idea is, what are things that maybe aren't right now being suspended out of school or counting in those out-of-school numbers, but could potentially if we didn't act. So we felt like,
Aggression could.
yes,
It depends on the level of aggression. So in a roundabout way, we are still getting at the out-of-school suspensions.
Yes.
But we know that decreasing by 10%, we're never going to get to a zero sum. And that's, I don't think we should be trying for that either. There are some offenses that need out-of-school suspension. But we feel that going at some of the major violations are also going to get at that suspension. So we thought we would take a different approach and get at the underlying behavior rather than just the suspensions.
and Amy, I might also add that there could be multiple kids involved. So
Right.
although it's one incident of whatever aggression, there may be multiple kids involved in
Right.
that incident.
I see.
Oh,
So that would
Okay.
count, so is this the number of students or the number of
Number of
incidents?
incidents.
Okay.
So we could be
That's a
talking
big
about
difference.
more
It
students.
could be more students.
Okay,
yeah, that's helpful.
that's new.
Yeah.
I mean, that's new to me, so.
Yeah.
Me as well.
I want to just narrow down on the words you used a minute ago, just to be perfectly clear, because last year, one of your goals was reducing out-of-school suspensions.
Right.
This analysis, when you said we took away some of the categories, doesn't at all affect the fact that you achieved last year's goal. This is, you took them out for this analysis to reshape
Yes.
your goal for the coming year.
Yes.
Okay,
We weren't out of school suspending for cell phone
exactly.
violations.
But just to be clear, that there was
Yes.
no point at which you were taking any incidents
No.
away when calculating
No.
last year's goal that you
no.
had. I just
No.
want to be clear on that.
This is digging deeper into the
Yes.
problem, because we
Yes.
were successful, but we felt like really, even though we hit the goal, we felt like there was more we could do in focusing on the incidents and dealing with the behaviors that were causing those suspensions. Even though we hit the goal, we wanted to push what we were doing.
How do you feel about the wording, by spring 2027, each school will reduce the number of major disciplinary incidents by 10%? I mean, arguably, that could be done by just not putting numbers into the system. And
Yeah.
so do
We talked about that.
Just word it in the way that drives the behavior you want to drive at each of the schools?
Well, again, I guess it's our diligence in talking through them. Most of the major incidences come to Mindy. They talk with her about them. So then it's up to us to make sure that they are in there. We've talked about a monitoring system of sending out a weekly or a monthly reminder of make sure all your incidences are in. But
And
Is that
we're
trying
also,
to the underlying behavior? My question is more about, are we measuring the right thing here? This is an output, this is an outcome of how students are behaving at school, right?
Mhm.
So on the one hand, so arguably this could be the right thing. I'm not trying to say it's not. I'm trying to say, I'm just asking a question. Or should it, or for example, your thoughts on, is there something around PBIS, for example, which I know is a goal as well, to roll that across, you're working on rolling that across in equitable fashion across all the schools.
yeah, that's the
That's
strategy.
so you're looking at that as the strategy.
That's the
to drive
strategy and action
schools.
steps.
Okay.
PBIS is the strategy for getting,
For getting to
for
this.
reducing this.
That's fair, yeah.
Yes.
That's fair.
But that, That makes the most sense if you don't just look at incident, but also student count. Because if
You have to look at student count.
if a fight breaks out, but it's only 2 kids instead of 4, that's a win,
Yeah.
but it doesn't get reflected here.
I think too. I think you're onto that. I think maybe it's that this shouldn't be the major disciplinary incidents, but it should be the number of students involved in major disciplinary incidents.
Because that would be a better litmus test of PBIS.
Yeah, it's related to that strategy. That
Seems like one and the same.
Well, but
I mean,
you,
they're not though.
but you could have one student involved in a major aggression.
Mhm.
And it's not gonna involve 4 students, so, I mean, we wanna reduce the aggression on campus.
Can I just say, I think that we talked about all of these things. We talked about this goal
I'm sure you have.
for many weeks, because we really want to get to how do we improve culture climate for students? How do we make it a
Right.
safer environment? How do we make it an environment that's more focused in the classroom, right? So I believe that if we reduce incidents of these major violations, we are also going to reduce the number of students involved. Because if you're saying we had half the amount of aggressions, let's just say, you automatically are reducing the number of kids involved, whether it's 1 kid or 4 kids. I will also say that we will encourage our sites to look at that data for themselves, who are our repeat offenders, who are our kids that are getting multiple referrals. That level of disaggregation, we're gonna talk to our sites about, because is it important? Yes,
Yeah.
but
And
we
again,
felt,
that's this action
Yeah.
step or strategy that they're going to.
That's fair.
Analyze the data, intervene with the repeat offenders. Those are the strategies and action steps that will come with the plans.
I mean, I think if anything, you're making it a more challenging goal by focusing on the number of incidents instead of the number of students. So, by all means, but it's worth at least talking about both.
Yes, ultimately, we want fewer students engaging in these incidents, in fewer incidences. That's what that's ultimately. So, again, here's some of those strategies that we talked about. So using the PBIS with Fidelity, implementing, data and root cause analysis to identify and the trends and the targeted interventions, providing behavioral supports. You can't punish your way out of.
Right.
You have to provide supports on how to get them to behave the way you want them to. And then again, we talked about expanding that restorative practices and the social emotional learning to prevent and address student misconduct, and then provide that ongoing professional learning to strengthen classroom management, because lots of it starts there with classroom management, behavior intervention, and de-escalation practices in the classroom. Then we have our attendance. So this is another goal that we're changing the wording a bit. We're still keeping in that we want to increase by 2%, but we want to get to a 95%. So we're trying to get it to a 95%. We know that I'll show you.
What has changed in that?
So it says, will achieve or maintain a 95% average daily attendance rate, or increase the average daily attendance rate over the previous year's results by 2% until 95% is achieved. So we added in this will achieve or maintain a 95%. We're trying to get to 95%, is what the bottom line is. Some schools don't need to go up 2% to get to 95%. So it's either 2% or 95, and keep doing 2% until you get to 95 is basically.
And just as being a bit of a stickler there, 2% or 2 percentage points?
Percentage points, yes. So you can see our overall attendance is 90.26, and as you know, we were written up in for our wonderful attendance rate. And people are probably going, we wish we had that. But of course, 90% is very good, but we'd like to get it to 95. So here's 95, we want 95. So here's the small increases that we made. But you can see some of the schools, you can see Sunrise Drive is at 93%. Ventana Vista is at 93%. So overall, you know, we did increase very slightly. I can show you here the exact increases. So Canyon View went down very slightly, and Orange Grove went down very slightly. But Sunrise Drive,
Is that 0.17 or
yeah,
17?
0.17.
Okay, sorry.
So you can see that they're,
So the decreases were not
no,
substantial.
the decrease, but
They were sick.
we didn't meet our goal.
Right, right.
You know, getting from 94 to 95% is pretty tough. So we want to recognize that. And our overall goal is really to get to 95%, and the increments that we're going to get there. We want 2% a year and then maintain that 95%. But overall, you know, we know the high school is always more challenging.
Yeah. Seniors.
Seniors,
Seniors.
yep, our
Well, we
seniors.
take them out of the mix.
Our-
It gets, matrix changes.
Yeah, our seniors do present, especially once they've committed to a college, they go,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yep.
So we have
Just
to.
link the parking spaces to attendance. Be sorted.
Well, it's funny that you say
mentioned
that.
that.
We are doing some attendance type incentives on all the things. Dances and parking. And so you have to be in attendance and you have to have good behavior in order to do those types of things. So we are tying that incentive type, and parking is one of them. So attendance and behavior to some of the privileges that they want to have at the high school. Yes, so we are.
It's big.
It's big, yeah.
I
And
mean,
even first
honestly,
versus second
there's a
semester.
big
Yes,
change
yes,
that
second
going
semester.
into sophomore year. So freshmen have pretty equal attendance to sixth, seventh, eighth
Yeah, I
grade.
mean, it just goes.
And then sophomore gets a little worse, and then junior, seniors gets a lot worse.
Yeah.
So we have to take a look at what's going on and what we're
Yeah.
doing to encourage students to come to school every day.
Yep.
And
Definitely.
Yes.
And does that mean how many classes can they miss before it's marked as an absence? I mean, in a day, you know, like if they leave one period early, is that an absence or not an absence?
Well,
It's,
Sorry, I mean, maybe
because
it's
it's
too much
by
in the weeds.
period,
Okay,
yeah,
it's a percentage of the day, so I think
Yeah.
they have to miss,
I,
and a certain percentage of
Yes.
the day to count as a.
yes, I think it's
Ended that day?
yes.
4 hours in the day for it to be considered an attendance.
Okay.
But we did make a small increase, not a 2%, but we did go up a 0.5% as a district in our attendance. And just communicating that out and being diligent about that with our families is happening.
There were some nice messages over the summer.
And so, again, we're implementing tiered attendance support systems to identify those kids early on, right? And communicating with their families, and doing outreach and setting clear expectations, and then addressing barriers to regular attendance as well. And yes, parking is probably one of them.
Yeah.
And we don't have a great solution for that because we have a finite amount of parking.
Bus.
There is a bus, yes. So we are working on that as well. But identifying those barriers and working with them to do that. We have, Gina, as you mentioned, our new parking area, we have devoted that for kids who have to leave right after their school day at the high school to get to J10.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yes, we are
Excellent.
doing that, and so we know that they have to, we don't wanna create a barrier for them to, get to their J10.
That's fantastic to hear.
So, then we move on to our engagement, and this is another goal that we want to change. Our goal last year was that we wanted to, we did a pre-survey, a pre and a post-survey to get their perceptions about their engagement in school. And in 3rd through 5th grade, we wanted to increase from 91.4 to 94%, and in 6th through 12th, we wanted to increase from 83.8 to 86. You can see the elementary schools are on the top graph, the middle and high schools are on the bottom. We didn't really do that anywhere.
So is this was this change from the beginning of the year to the end of the year?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Yes.
Arguably, I mean, that's understandable, the drop, because they get tired.
Well, that's just it. So they also took the cell phone survey right before this as well. And they're taking this in May when they just want to be done. So it is understandable.
Yeah.
There weren't huge drops. You can see it's very minimal.
Yeah, and even the drops, I mean, it's totally understandable.
Right.
So how would you like to change it?
So we want to change this, again, to, we want to achieve or maintain a 93% overall for the elementary 3 through 5. We want to, get to that 93%. In grades 6 through 12, we want to achieve or maintain a 90% overall combined engagement. So that's all the questions together of confidence, engagement, and belonging. So we know that in the elementary grades, engagement is higher and it starts to diminish as they get older. So that's why we have the two different percentages for the 3 through 5, 3rd through 5th graders and the 6th through 12th graders, because we felt like it was going to be more difficult to achieve in our middle and high schools.
The last page.
And I think we're also going to try and address the issue of survey exhaustion a little bit.
Correct.
And look at it year over year,
Year over year, not
So they're
twice,
taking
not
it
a pre-post.
once instead of,
And when during the year you think of executing the survey?
we're thinking about like I think we said first quarter, towards the end of first quarter, like around fall break. So they have time to get established, but it's still it's still earlier in the year.
And then doing it at that 10th of the year
Yeah,
instead of a pre and a post.
So these are the numbers you want to get to 90,
Yes,
yep,
and those are the ones you want to get to 93.
yes,
Okay. So this is the steeper
yes.
of the climb, for sure.
But also really critical
Oh, yeah.
to keep our middle school and high schoolers engaged in the school. So that's why we set it at 90, knowing that it was a big climb, because it's that important.
Kind of interesting that the parity amongst the elementary schools. Okay, they're all very, very similar engagement rates, and then similarly the two middle schools. I mean, they're not far apart from each other.
I'm thrilled that the high school is right in there in line with the middle schools.
Same.
So that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we wanted to refine that. We wanted to change that to annually increase the percentage of students in grades 3 through 12 who report feeling engaged in their learning and confident in their ability to succeed as measured by an annual student engagement survey.
Yeah.
And again, 3rd through 5th grade, achieve or maintain a 93%, and then grade 6 through 12, achieve or maintain a 90%. And of course, our engagement strategies, here are some possible increased student engagement throughout high-quality student-centered instruction, right? If kids are motivated to go to class because there's a project going on. That's really motivating. Making learning visible by strengthening student ownership in it, cultivating a culture of belonging. It's one of the things that our elementaries are really working on, that sense of belonging. And the middle schools are really working on that too, because sometimes in middle school, that's where they don't feel they belong. So that sense of belonging in our middle schools is very important. Building student competence through effective instructional practices and support. So if a student is struggling, the support you offer them sometimes makes them engage more deeply in their learning. Student voice surveys and survey data to guide our continuous improvement efforts, and then strengthening our family partnerships with our families. So those are some engagement strategies.
Before we depart from this, do we know each individual student who takes the engagement survey? Do we know this student gave these answers?
We did not this last year. We will this next year.
Because I'm thinking in terms of intervention, we're looking at three different things with attendance and with academic performance and with sense of belonging that.
All related. Yep.
Exactly, but how
And
related,
discipline.
we don't know.
Discipline. They're all related.
I mean, I take that back. I think, did Justin tie?
The second round,
second
we
round he
did tie it, so we had some information
Tied it to
because
students
obviously
directly.
there's some
We
great
just, because they
tier
take
three
it at school,
interventions that could happen.
so we collect their,
I figured, and then it's just a matter of are we connecting the dots and saying here's an intervention that can impact multiple metrics. Okay.
yes. So then our community outreach, this is Allison and I will be working on this, and we set some lofty goals and some just achievable goals as well. So these are the three goals, and I'll go through each of them. But the first one, we want to increase our year-over-year student retention rate from 93.6 to 95, as measured by the percentage of students enrolled October 1st of this year, and then who are enrolled again on October 1st of next year, excluding our graduating seniors. But we're going to do an emphasis on increasing the percentage of 8th grade students who transition to Catalina Foothills High School. And I'll show you some data when we get back in there about why we've chosen that metric. And then our second one is by June of 2027, we want to increase our verified registrations across our community-facing parent square groups by 10%. And I'll show you the data on that. Remember last year we wanted to get 400, well, we got 3,000. So, and we were only really focused on one parent group. Well, now we have 7 parent groups, so we want to expand that a little bit and that. And then our last one is we want to increase the combined ridership on the Fort Lowell Park and the Udall Park bus routes to at least 90 students
Each? Or
collectively. But we really want to focus on new families into the district as well as maintaining our existing families. But we want to move towards long-term operational efficiency of our routes. So we can go through each of those. So here's it. Here's our first one, is that this retention rate. 93% is a pretty good retention rate.
It's real good.
But we would like to increase it to 95%. And again, it's from October to October with an emphasis on 8th grade students. And here's why. So our rationale is that the 93.6 is based on the transition from 24-25 to 25-26. So we need to look at this 25-26 to 26-27. Of the 453 eligible students to re-enroll. Of the 4,453 eligible students to re-enroll, 4,170 re-enrolled. So 283 did not re-enroll. Right. So a 95% represents a 1.4% increase, and that means retaining an additional 60 students. we know that between those 2 years, there were 72 eighth graders that did not transition to our high school.
It was just saying between the two middle schools, or is it more one middle school than the other?
That I don't know. We would have to look at that. I don't know about that.
And then also, do you know where they go? Is there a way to know where they go?
Well,
Like,
there is.
I mean, if they're going to South Point, then they want to parochial education. I mean,
So there is a new dashboard that has been put together. It's Arizona School Administrators commissioned a graduate from UHS who is to create this dashboard. And so it tells you where your students are going. So we will know, it doesn't tell you who,
that's
but it
fine.
tells you where.
Okay.
And we know that our students go to BASIS, they go to UHS, and we've never been able to tell that they go to South Point. But we will have more data on that once that is fully functional. So,
We can also look at withdrawal codes to
Yeah.
see like students who left the state,
Mhm.
things like that, because
Right.
obviously you have that too.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that's something we can't do anything about, but
Right.
everything else.
right. But we really feel like this focus on those eighth graders is a great leverage point because that's the largest group, you know.
Do you know if this dashboard will differentiate between in-district and open enrolled students?
Yes,
It will.
it does. I watched the webinar again today
Wow.
just so I could, I don't have.
She knew you were gonna ask that question.
Well, I don't have access to the dashboard yet,
Right.
but I did watch, I've attended 2 or 3 webinars on it now, and it's really fantastic. It shows where our students are going, where we're getting them from. It's,
Where we're getting them from will be really interesting, then we can over-index the targeting
yes,
in those areas.
we get most of our students from TUSD,
That's
And
pretty big,
AMPI.
so,
and then AMPI.
so if we narrow that in, some targeting, I think that would be interesting.
Well, which,
Buses
Mm-hmm.
to where they go.
yes.
Yeah.
And especially, we know that they are looking to close some schools.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, so this is the rationale for that.
Very
for that
interesting.
goal. So we want to improve the frequency, quality, and accessibility of communication. Conduct outreach to those eighth grade families. We really feel that we need to work with the high school in getting those kids on the campus often.
Sooner than.
Sooner
And sooner.
Yeah.
Last year, there was the super choir that got elementary kids, which was great.
Yeah.
Band does its thing.
Yes,
Beach,
yes,
performing.
exactly. So offering more opportunities like that, rather than just the fly-in.
Yeah.
Which arguably, the flying comes after they've made decisions.
Often.
And also, well, obviously, you're gonna get to parents as well.
Exactly. But targeted recruitment and outreach to attract and retain our students, and then increase our meaningful opportunities for them to engage with their students on our campuses.
Okay. Can you make high school posts go into the middle school parent square? You know
Yes.
what I mean? So like,
Yes.
middle school parents are seeing all these
Yes,
amazing
we
things
can.
that the high school is doing, cause
Yes.
maybe,
We can. In fact, we sent the introduction of all of the new administrators to both the high school and the
Oh,
middle
good.
schools, so
Great.
that they're understanding.
there's some good stuff there.
Yeah. So here's our increased verified registrations across our parent square groups by 10%. That's an extra 380 registrations. But you can see we have future families, we have Catalina Foothills alumni, Foothills residents, community leaders, neighborhood associations, Tucson community groups, and visual and performing arts supporters. So those are our current groups, and you can see here are our numbers.
What's the Tucson community group? That's just anybody that doesn't fit into any other?
That's what I was signed up for
It's the
Yeah.
catch-all?
at one,
Yes,
Huh?
after my child graduated.
yeah, it's just, if you're not in a future family or if you're not in one of the other
We could have been
groups.
in resident
I might have been in that one too, I don't.
neighborhood association.
But if you remember, we had 50
Right,
at the start, and we
Right.
wanted to get to 400,
unbelievable.
and we got to 3,809.
This, that number of posts is
That's how many went to each of those groups.
in a year,
Yes, last year we had,
not very many. I mean, 14 and 11.
well, they're targeted, we
Yeah.
did 432 posts,
Yeah.
but everybody got all
Yeah.
of the posts.
Right.
You almost don't want to overkill.
Yes.
Yes, especially these groups.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like the visual and performing arts. I mean, I
Ah.
think I mentioned before, I went to a play at the high school, and sitting next to me were just two women who saw the sign out on the side of the road and thought this might be a fun night out.
Yes.
We have so many other things we
So
offer.
what we do is when we have concerts,
Yeah.
or when we have anything, we advertise, we send it out on a post there, so.
Yeah, that feels like there's a lot of room for growth there with just the number of people coming in for those concerts.
Especially just even the Tucson Symphony,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right there. I mean, anyone coming for those concerts,
Yep.
that's a right target. And we know that stories matter. This is why we want to continue this. You know, we continually hear that word of mouth is how families hear. So telling those stories is important. We can convert, we can convert these to increase our school tours, our school inquiries and open enrollment applications. We have seen an increase in engagement since we started publishing, so that's great. Then we can track it too. We can track our views and engagement and how many read it and how many opened it and things like that. And then we can see how many from that we get for inquiry, like tours and applications and things like that.
One offering that we have that is unique is to have a Spanish immersion school. So is there a way to, or is there a thought to, and there's room in that school for growth. So is there a way to target people who might be interested specifically in bilingual education? I don't know, I'm just asking.
Something to think about.
I mean, highlighting anything that's unique or encouraging, you know, as families are transitioning to the high school, you might not know, by the way, we have X, Y, and Z, you know, we
Right.
have to continue to look at how we market ourselves, I'm sure.
Right. I
One
mean,
of the-
somebody may not be willing to drive just for an elementary school, but they might be willing to drive. for-
Well, one of the parents that I talked to at the bus stop at Udall Park, she said, well, I really wanted him to go to Basis, but that was too far away. And with this bus service, and we wanted Spanish immersion, so this was perfect for us. So you're getting those types of,
Yeah,
I think the buses are really gonna be
yeah,
important, which is why we set this goal for 90 students, with a focus on new families, of course, but continuing to serve those who are, we still have families who had signed up for it in the spring, who still haven't ridden the bus. And so we're reaching out to them. Allison reached out to them last week, and we're hoping that as the weather gets cooler,
Yeah.
that's usually what happens, even
They
though our
wanna
buses
stand
are fully air
outside.
conditioning.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, they're cold.
yeah.
It is cold on those buses. Even though they're air conditioning, parents still feel they don't want to send them on the bus for the first couple of months, so. But it, also with this goal, it's increasing our enrollment, but it's also reducing the congestion
Yeah, it's
in our neighborhoods. You know, our schools were never built for the type of, or the amount of vehicle traffic to our schools. And so anything we can do to alleviate some of that congestion in the mornings and at dismissal, I think is really gonna,
I think the
Right.
fact that we just offer open enrollment students, mean when we open enroll before we moved in the district, that was the best thing ever. I could not wait to get a child on a bus.
yes,
Right.
yes. So here's, you know, the low acceptable range of riders on the bus is really 38. We're not at 38, we're at 28 and 25, I think. No, we're at 35. We're at 35 on one. We'd like to get that to 50, of course, in this first year. But our total ridership then for the low range would be 76. Our aspirational goal is at 90. Our baseline is we just have over 50 students already. I think we have 58 continuing riders right now. We'd like to add 50 more. And we'd like to get 40 new students riding the bus. So that's what our aspirational goal is. You know, the capacity is, you know, we were going to run 3 buses, which that capacity would have been higher, but so this is just the capacity for 2 buses. So the low range would be at a 49% ridership. The aspirational is going to be at a 58%. But again, this is going to be a multi-year plan. We know that once we get this ridership going, we're going to need to expand it then to Esperero as well, because those students want to continue riding the bus, and then potentially the high school too.
Right.
So,
Get them between 8th and 9th.
well, you know, that is something we might want to look at even before, with the issues with parking and getting to school. If we know that we have students, we should probably be looking at that, looking at students at the high school that could be coming from a distance and sending a bus to.
Yeah, because parent drop-off at the high school's not enjoyable either.
Yes, I've been involved in it. So that's something we need to look at, probably, maybe even before the middle school, the high school. That's a good point. And of course, the benefits of the goals are, you know, of this goal, of this ridership, you know, we really want to, you know, strengthen our financial sustainability by increasing our daily average membership, of course, but also improve our long-term efficiency of the bus routes. We want to do that. Expand our enrollment, you know, support growth at our schools, increase the barrier for families to get to our schools. So that's real.
There's also an element of environmental sustainability here too.
It is, you're right, less emissions. So here's how we are monitoring the goals. So we have site and district leaders identify improvement goals. So every school has an improvement plan that has these goals broken down into a smaller goal for them to achieve.
All of the goals that we've talked about. You're
All
talking
of
about
the
everything
goals,
now.
well,
Okay.
all of the goals once they're approved,
Yeah.
because we've made some changes. But, you know, they have clear goals with strategies and action steps, and that they're implementing and monitoring. We have a continuous review of data sets and progress at our monthly administrative team meetings. We're always talking about our school improvement and how we're improving. How is the interventions going, or what impact are you having on discipline? Then we're looking at leading and lagging indicators, so we monitor both of those. We track both implementation and the outcome, so how are they doing with the implementation? That's that leading indicator, and then the lagging indicator is how they perform. And then my meetings with the principals focus on their site improvement plan, so we talk about that. I'm also going out to observe them working on their school improvement plans and their professional learning with their staff. So I go out and watch that and provide feedback to them on that. So this is kind of our monitoring, how we're implementing our plans.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna be really nitpicky here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Your 3 and 4 need to be flipped around, because the circle goes that way around.
Oh, okay.
Please,
Sure.
thanks. What?
One,
It goes
1, 2, 4,
clockwise?
3, if you follow the.
Yeah, 1,
arrow.
2.
The circle. 1, 2.
Oh, 1, 2,
Yeah,
3, 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right,
Yeah, thank you.
sure.
I know that's like such a
No,
substantive
but
comment.
you
No,
see it
that's
from the
okay.
unseen.
That's
Please.
okay. And then these are the assurances that, you know, as a district, as a leadership team, that we're making. We're data informed and responsive, so we're looking at our student data consistently. We're not making decisions in a vacuum or on our feelings. We're looking at data. As I've said many times, our director of student data assessment and accountability has made data very accessible to our administrators and our teachers as well, and they're using that data. So we are data informed and responsive. We're focusing on our high leverage strategies. So from our plans last year, they're looking at those strategies and what impact did they have. And if those strategies were not effective, are they going to modify them? Are they going to eliminate them or keep them in their current form? So we're looking at those high leverage strategies. We're focused on measurable and equitable outcomes for our students. You know, it's improvement for all of our students, not just certain groups of students. So we want to make it equal for them. It's centered on adult practice and student impact. We know that to get to student achievement, we have to have the highest quality instructors in front of them. So continuously improving their practice and getting them to reflect and refine their practice is going to have a positive student impact. The implementation with fidelity. We do have the timelines and that we adhere to, and that continuous improvement cycle. It's a constant looking at what are we doing, how is it impacting our students, and what do we need to change to get better. And then it's that continuously monitored and adjusted. So the principals and their teams at their sites are constantly monitoring and adjusting. I'm also working with them when I'm meeting with the principals in our admin team meetings and then in my individual meetings with them as well. So we have a very thorough process for monitoring and adjusting the goals.
Is number 4, does that also connect to the Great Beginners program?
Absolutely.
So that's an active part of, like, it's bringing that along.
And our learning support specialists. The professional learning and the coaching that they're receiving is actually improving their practice. Yes, that's what that focus is. And then this is just kind of
Your theme.
It's our theme this year. It's this believe, belong, become, because it takes all of our staff to accomplish these goals. You know, like I said, they're called the superintendent's performance goals, but I don't do this in a vacuum. This is from my goals to the schools, and the schools to the classrooms, and the classrooms to the families. It's everybody. And if we want them to become what we want them to become, we have to believe in their potential. They have to belong to our community, and then they can become what we want them to. And finally, you know, improving our schools means better lives for our students. And that's really the important aspect of these goals and why we do this continuous improvement cycle with our schools, because our kids deserve it, and that's how we make it a district we deserve. So any questions on the goals or feedback on the goals that we changed?
Is the purpose tonight to ideally provide feedback so that these are then, that's incorporated into the second reading in 2
Correct.
weeks and then it's approved?
Correct. Yeah, so if you have some specific feedback on some of the goals that we've changed, I know we've discussed them as we've gone along, but we did make some changes specifically to the discipline, our engagement goal, and our attendance, and then our community outreach. So those are the areas that we've changed. Of course, the achievement pieces have stayed the same.
I'm comfortable with your proposed changes. I think they make sense. I would ask that you get tight on percents versus percentage points, because we were talking about numbers with those, that could be a big difference, actually.
Sure.
And I just want to make sure that we're all very crystal clear on what success looks like, right? And, you know, as you've already acknowledged, the higher the numbers, the harder it gets to make those increases. And so we want to make sure that your administrative team also understands, like, these this is the actual numbers that we're going for.
Yes.
Right, so I think that's super important. I personally am still not totally comfortable, I wasn't last year either, totally comfortable with the way that we're looking at, now major incidents. Last year was out of school suspensions. I recall expressing some concern as to whether that was what we should be going against. I still will just voice that. But I don't have a better option to make, or to suggest, so I just don't know that is, I understand when you look at when you tie the strategy to it and you look at it holistically, we're looking at the right stuff. I'm just not sure the goal is the right goal yet. But I might be the only person who feels that way. In case it's totally fine. Yeah. Those would be my comments in addition to what I've already shared.
I just want to understand what you're saying, Gina. So, you're saying though that when you say you're getting at the right stuff, the goal, the idea is to reduce behavior that requires disciplinary interventions.
The idea is that, but the goal is measuring
Right.
the disciplinary action itself.
No, I understand
which you could just this does not happen, I know that, but that could be accomplished through gaming the system. Just don't put as many data points into there. It's not driving to the heart of the matter, and I, which is about PBIS, it is about behavior. I would really love to see a goal that's tied more to that part of the work that needs to be done, but I don't have a good alternative to recommend as to what that might be. So, in the absence of something
Well,
constructive, I shall abide by what you have.
Well, I will say though, that our administrators are highly motivated in reducing these incidences, because this is what takes their time.
And it would
Dealing with these
demoralize
incidences-
teachers and it, right.
Absolutely, it takes away from what they're able to do in school improvement or give feedback to teachers. This is what's taking their time. And so I would say they are motivated not to game the system, but to really get at what's causing this.
And I don't doubt that they're motivated. My point is more, I'm still not convinced that we're measuring the right thing, that the goal is worded the right way. But again, I can't offer you
Okay.
an alternative, so I appreciate him not giving the most constructive comment. This is the second year in a row that I haven't been comfortable with that particular goal. But I just don't know how to, and if it's just me, that's fine.
I will say I want to come at it from a positive perspective, right? And it feels almost like you're focusing from a
Maybe that's what it
negative piece.
is.
I think it's thinking about PBIS and tiered interventions. She's right. It's a strategy. It's a response to the
Yeah.
behavior, or it's a proactive approach. So we don't have. You're right. Stronger tier 1 PBIS is going to produce less incidents.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I think I know where you're coming from. It feels like, are we focusing on the negative stuff?
Yeah.
But I will also say that I think our schools are very motivated, like she said. I think they're doing a much better job at entering because they want the data. In order to be very effective with PBIS, you have to use your data. So if you're not inputting your data, then you don't know, oh, listen, we're having some issues, at lunchtime with this particular group on this particular spot on campus. They can get that level of disaggregated data when they're entering their incidents correctly. So I think they're starting to use more and more of that too. So,
To hear.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think you've probably hit the nail on the head there, Mindy. It's the negativity,
Yeah.
quote of the goal
Yeah,
that is uncomfortable, but
We said the same thing.
yeah.
But when we really thought about, you can game the system with suspension too.
Absolutely, that's why I had the
Suspension,
concern last
right?
year, or one of the reasons I had the
And
concern
it
last
really
year.
wasn't getting at what we wanted to get at it, which is reducing the behavior. And so we felt like this is the next iteration towards that.
And I do think the shift toward the behavior analysis and the incident descriptions makes a lot of sense. I question still the reliance on the number of incidents versus students involved, but I think you're probably going to look at that somewhat in parallel anyway, and might pivot on that as you go. So my only other question was you really want to push for that attendance level at the high school.
Yes.
I mean, are there layers to that are worth
Just like
understanding?
excluding seniors?
Or excluding second semester, or something that I love that you are aspirational with this. I just question what is realistic versus not.
Our goal is 2%
Yes.
increase, so we're trying to increase it. So that is the first metric that they're gonna get to, is the 2%. That 90 is just, it is an aspirational goal. Should we expect less? I don't think we should
No.
expect less.
A 30% absent rate for
Yeah.
seniors is too much. They
Yeah,
need to come to school. We're not done with them, or we would stop junior year.
Is that the rate that we're seeing?
Yes,
That's,
so it does need to increase.
Yeah.
And, you know, if kids aren't in school, where are they?
As parents too, that message
Sure.
has to get to, I mean, it cannot
Where are
wait
they?
with
We don't
parents.
want them roaming the streets
Right.
either. I mean,
Yes,
I mean,
it's true.
Right.
you know, we,
Yeah.
What are they
I think
doing?
we should expect that. I think we should. And,
Okay.
and we're not saying by a certain year they have to be at 90, we're saying we want 2% increase a year until they get to 90. And I think it's reasonable.
fair, yeah.
I think it's reasonable and what we should expect.
I'm just flabbergasted that that's number is that high.
The 30?
I was,
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's a,
my daughter never missed a day of school, so I'm just.
My contribution was my son's no longer there. I thought that was seriously going to like positively impact. Okay.
Sorry to, like, maybe I should just re-enroll her.
Yes, please, we'll take it.
Jacqueline, Eileen, any other comments, questions about the goals? Okay, well then this sounds like something we will revisit in 2 weeks
Yes,
for a second reading.
we will. Thank you. Thank you.
You.
And thank you for the presentation as well. It was helpful.
The next item on our agenda is the approval of delegate and alternate delegate to the Arizona School Boards Association Delegate Assembly. This is an action item presented by yours truly, apparently. So this item.
Apparently.
I didn't read that far down. This item is placed on the agenda for the governing board to select an ASBA delegate and alternate to represent the Catalina Foothills Unified School District number 16 at the ASBA Delegate Assembly on Wednesday, September 9th. The mission, values, and core beliefs and the proposed 2027 political agenda report are included in the board packet, but the action item tonight is specifically around identifying a delegate and an alternate. I believe there are 2 of us attending, and it is the day after one of our board meetings. So I volunteer as tribute to drive up Tuesday night after the board meeting and be the delegate Wednesday morning.
I suppose I will be the alternate delegate, so I hope that you make it up there Tuesday evening, or else I'm going to have to find a way to teleport.
Is it, can you attend remotely? It's one of those that they're doing a remote option, because if that's the case, then.
But if I attend remotely, it's hard to attend remotely because it's Wednesday morning
I-
and the
I
rest
know,
of the
but what I'm
conference
saying
is
is
in the
an
afternoon.
alternate could be somebody.
Oh,
Could be
doesn't have
here,
to be-
that's
Not gonna
true.
be driving
Who's not
up there
there,
that
sure.
morning, right?
Can you be an alternate without attending the conference? I guess you can.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, I hope you show up. I don't want to have to leave the house at 4 a.m. the following morning.
But that's a good question. Do we have you as a fallback?
Amy's saying it is not offered.
There is no
never
virtual
mind.
option.
So I will
Sorry.
be the
Okay.
alternate.
You're the
I'm
alternate.
counting on you, Logue. If not, I know where you
No one's
live.
been recommended, no one's moved you yet.
That's true. Well, so this is our proposed delegate and alternate. If there is no further discussion, then I would entertain a motion.
Sure. I move the governing board approve Tom Logue as the ASBA delegate and Jacqueline DeValle as the alternate delegate to the ASBA Delegate Assembly.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you for going,
Thank you very much
for being our delegate.
My pleasure.
for figuring out the drive.
That too.
I mean, asthma kind of
He
messed
kind of
this
messed
up
up
this
this
year.
whole schedule, but
Hey,
that's
you know,
work.
got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
Which moves us right along to 5.1 on our agenda, which is Arizona legislative and governmental activity.
We have to do this. Yep.
Do we have anything to discuss?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
I thought you
do.
might,
I
yes.
do. There is a ballot measure coming in November. It's Proposition 320. It's about the classroom spending
Oh, yeah.
and the 60%. And like I said, I've attended 2 webinars and I'm doing a third about the 60%, because 60% is a very narrow, it's not on classroom spending, it's on instructional spending only. And currently, when you look at our 2025 spending, we're at 55.4%. We will have to increase 0.5% every year or risk losing first year 25% of our classroom site fund, the second year 50% of our classroom site fund, and then third year 75% of our classroom site fund. So I have a informational sheet that I will share with you in the week in review about Proposition 320, but this is a pretty serious one for schools. There are 89 schools who qualify because it's not every school. It's only schools with 7,500 students or more, or you are in Pima County, Maricopa County, or Pinal County.
No way.
Yep.
Yes.
It's so they don't penalize.
So they don't penalize the rural schools. But
But
there
you
are
have
rural schools.
In Pima County and Maricopa
Exactly.
County and Pinal County.
Exactly.
You're in the entirety of Pinal County. and rural.
Exactly. So that's,
electoral map.
that's the only 3 counties that this involves. Or now Flagstaff has 7,500 students, so they have to abide by it.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
this is going on the ballot.
going on the ballot. And of course, it sounds
Reasonable.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we spend 60%? But it's a very narrow definition of instructional spending.
So is the foundation aware, and also what's the organization?
Friends?
The Friends, are they aware of
Um,
this?
To be reconstituting.
I'll be talking about it at the foundation. Of course, we have to be careful because you can't do anything to.
I know, but just making sure they're aware, we can
Correct.
do that.
Yes, we can make them aware.
And who's the head of Friends now?
I don't think there is
I don't think
anything.
there is one.
It was Melinda, wasn't it? McNeilis?
Yeah.
Filing their financial reports.
I thought it was Melinda McNeilis, wasn't it?
I don't.
Maybe at least reaching out to Melinda, she might know if there's somebody that's passing over to, so that they can be informed at least, because they have a good system. Or they always
And-
had a good system in
And this
place.
is not gonna be the only ballot measure
No.
addressing public education
Right.
or affecting funds.
It's something we need to. I'm assuming that this will be addressed at the law conference.
Have they, in your, normally by now, political action groups and community groups are starting to line up on one side or the other with fundraising for signage and that kind of stuff. Are you aware of any groups that have lined up on either side?
No, ASBA is being very careful, of course, because they represent, and if we pay them, we pay them a fee for their services, then they can't
Right.
turn around and have the same expectation for the outcome of the election that we have. They can't influence the outcome of the election.
I imagine there will be
I would imagine that
groups
Save Our
lining up.
Schools,
Yeah.
Save Our Schools,
Is this an all stick, no carrot kind of scenario? Like if you reach that 60% and let's say exceed it, you're not getting anything more, you're just keeping your funding. You're not getting bonus funding or anything.
What would the impact be on us from a budget perspective if we need to, if this does pass? I mean, I understand like the percentage impact, but from a
$1.
meaningful impact, what would have to
25%
change?
of our
Where would the money
classroom
come?
site fund, that is how we pay about 20% of their teachers' salaries, plus our performance award plan comes from the classroom site fund, so that would be really diminished for teachers as well.
Sorry, what I'm trying to ask is, in order to make the numbers work, in order to shift, to achieve the 60%,
The point.
Well,
what
we
would
don't
we
have
need
to
to-
get to 60%, you just have to increase by 5% till you get to 60.
okay, so what would that 5% increase, what would we need to cut to make that happen? Do you see what I'm trying to ask?
Yes.
Right.
I think, well, you're gonna have to cut positions that are not directly instructional. Those are counselors, those are learning support specialists, those are all those people that don't count, in that classroom spending. Now, there are other things that we're gonna do before that. That is not what we're interested in doing. We're interested in, looking at all of the things that we are currently, assigning to our classroom spending and what things are not assigned to classroom spending, and see if we have some things
Yeah.
that we can do there first. We don't want to eliminate positions.
Of course not.
That's not.
So I'm sure if this passed, you're talking about like, you know, moving things here, moving columns, and the state's gonna have to set up a whole new audit process too. They're gonna have to stand that up, and who's paying for that?
Well, what
Infrastructure.
constitutes an instructional spending is
Yeah.
what we're gonna really go over with a fine tooth comb. And I've already talked with Lisa Tatel about that. Now, the baseline year will be 27, 28, so we have some time, but we're not getting,
Well,
we're not increasing by leaps and bounds our
So if it's
instructional
27,
spending.
28, we start talking about in spring.
Well, we're in fiscal year 27 right now, so that's fiscal year 28.
Okay. Yeah. So the results of the election go right up against,
Yes,
and all those conversations,
yes. So,
or continue in or more earnest, I guess is a better way.
yeah. But our first, like I said, our first thing is to look at what is, coded in our system as an instructional expense, and what other things could be that we don't currently.
ASPA's doing a webinar on it.
But you will get this in the week in review, it's from Arizona School Administrators, and it's just got some definitions and it's a pretty easy read, so I'll let you.
Right,
But I thought that was important to bring up.
thank you.
definitely. Any other comments on legislative or governmental activity?
So many comments, none of which are suitable here.
Fair enough. Then shall we move on? All right, we have agenda planning tomorrow, 10 a.m.
Yes.
Jacqueline and I at MAC, correct? Okay. Well, that is the last thing on our agenda. At this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Well, second.
All in favor?
Right?
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned.
Bye, Eileen.